Hey there, fellow citizen of the internet. Welcome to the Moses Kabandana Podcast. Today I have with me Parker Dean, and we're gonna be talking about communication. No, we're gonna be talking about improvisation, the power of improv for analytical thinkers. So, Parker, welcome to the Moses Kabandana Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me on, Moses. I appreciate it.
Awesome, awesome. So improv. Why improv? And before even telling us like why improv, like what is improv? It's kind of like a stupid question, but like what does it truly entail?
No, it's all good. So, to give the listeners a little bit of background, I have a really, really large background in live theater. I've been on stage in some form or another since I was about 8 years old. So we're going on about 20 years now. I've been doing stand up comedy for the last over 2 years at this point. And throughout all of that theater training, stand up and stuff, improv has always, for me, been a central part of that. Improv, in the purest sense, in a theatrical sense, is going to take place probably in a classroom somewhere like where I went to college at, or it's going to be at a comedy school. Sometimes in bigger cities like LA, where I live, you're going to see improv shows. So, to answer your question, what is improv specifically? In a theatrical sense of the word, it involves people on stage quite literally not knowing what's going to happen next. Maybe they have a structure they're going to be working within, like we know we're about to do a scene where there's going to be some music involved, or we know that we're going to be playing this particular improv game, and then usually a host will take suggestions from the audience. And so, for example, I remember one time I was at an improv show, and it was a really, really funny show. It was at the Groundling School, a place where I took a class one time, and the host asked, "Can we get a recommendation from the audience? Can we get a suggestion about these two men on stage? They're going to be doing a dance. They're going to be doing a dance and they're going to be singing a song, but we need to know what the name of the song is." And so I yelled out, "The Chimichanga." I don't know, it just seemed funny to me at the time. And then the two
Yeah.
men improvised an entire song and dance just off of that one word. That is what improv is in like the purest theatrical sense. When I teach improv, I tend to go more practical with it personally. So when I teach
Hmm.
communication, which is what I do, I'll use more exercises and games as opposed to putting people in acting scenes. I take a much more practical approach when I teach.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for that. Um. Huh. So why did you target analytical thinkers for improvisation approach?
I'm one. And so it was a way that
Hmm.
when I learned theater, it was really a blessing to me because I didn't have a high degree, I don't think, at the time when I was younger, of social intelligence. Maybe, I
Hmm.
think I had emotional intelligence, maybe, but I had a hard time when it came to, I don't know, just relaxing and having a solid conversation. I had a really hard time back in the day. And
Yeah.
so I found that learning improv and learning theater really was a blessing in that regard because it taught me a lot of lessons. And so I teach those types of people specifically, and then predominantly men. I work with women as well, but predominantly analytical men because I find that I can speak to them because I understand how their minds generally function because I think it's like mine.
Hmm. Hmm. And what was the first play that you were part of? Do you remember?
Oh man. Wow, no one's ever asked me that. The first theater thing I think I ever did was when I say 8 years old, but it might have been even earlier. We
Hmm.
did we did a cabaret of songs. So I got put into
Okay.
musical theater camp or something, and it was just different songs from different musicals over the years that we performed in a big performance. The first play I remember doing where I had to memorize lines and I was in a costume, that would have been Clue. So there's an 80s movie,
Hmm.
maybe some of the listeners know of it, Clue, like the board game, and it's a comedy, a dark comedy movie. That would have been the
Yeah.
first play I remember doing, and that would have been when I was probably 13 or 14.
Okay. Okay, and so prior to this, more or less, you were more of a closed off person socially, would you say?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, it's not, man, that I was even closed off. I think I wanted to make friends and stuff like that. I think
Yeah.
I just quite literally didn't understand how. I think I just lacked the tech
Mm-hmm.
in my brain to be able to have just good, I don't know. I always liked performing, I guess. I always enjoyed being
Mm-hmm.
on stage when I did it. But
Okay.
when it came to interpersonal communication or fitting in within a group of kids, that's what I had a harder time with, I think.
Hmm. Okay. So when I also did theater, started when I was in high school, and I had moved from one high school to another, and getting to a new school, sophomore year, um, I'm I'm a shy, I was a shy kid, and then you add on top of that, some level of linguistic barrier because I just moved to the States a couple years before that, so I was still shy about my lack of being fluent in English. So, anyways, I was
Hmm.
super closed off. Didn't really say much in the circle of friends that I already had. Super vocal. I'm very open, but outside of that, I was just nope, head down, don't look up, don't make eye contact. I don't know you. I don't want to know you. I'm just. And then the high school has some audition for the school play, and I really don't know what this whole theater thing is all about. But I decide to go, and I show up late after the
Can you hear me,
auditions are done.
Moses? The camera glitched out on my end. Sorry about that. I didn't quite hear that. I didn't catch the last part of what you said.
You're good. You're good. You're good. So I was just saying that they had auditions at the high school, and I showed up pretty late. The auditions were already done. But
Ah,
long story short, the teacher, she's like, well, come on in anyways, grab a couple of parts, read through, and so but it opened me up so much from there on socially, right? So like I knew how to approach people. I knew how to be friendly in different environments, but for some reason this new change just really threw me off, and doing the theater just opened up a part of me that I didn't really know that was there. But we didn't do much improv in that, if
hmm.
I remember correctly, even though it wasn't from the lack of trying. The teacher, Mrs. Summerfield, if you're watching this, shout out to you. She kept trying to let us know that it's okay to just not have things organized, not having to say the right thing at the right time all the time, right? Just like do things, explore, and it is through that exploration that you're gonna be able to find the voice of the different characters that we're trying to define. Okay, anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself.
No, it's okay.
That's what theater did for me, and you're saying that it kind of did somewhat similar thing to you. But for analytical thinkers, the analytical types, um, what is the biggest obstacle that you see that they face when it comes to an improvisational approach?
An improvisational approach requires the willingness to allow chaos into the door. And for an analytical mind, chaos inherently means problems. There's
Okay.
anomalies in the system. I don't like anomalies. So as long as I can plan every single last thing, as long as I can get an algorithm for every possible situation that comes up, whether that's at work, whether that's in my personal life, whether that's in a conversation maybe with a woman, whether that is in really any form of life where you have to interface with other people, that if I can just get my system down and I can find the perfect system that allows me to have success, then I will win. That's the mindset, I believe, of a very analytical person. And the problem with that is you are always going to find yourself frustrated because chaos, you can never plan so much that chaos does not happen. Problems are inevitably going to come up in conversations. They're inevitably going to go in a way you didn't expect them to go. In your personal relationships, people are inherently chaotic, I find, so that means that they're not going to go in the direction you maybe want them to go. They might not want to talk about the topic that you want to talk about. So as a result, I find that analytical people learning improv is a very useful skill because it allows you to never really be caught on your heels in regards to being social and forming relationships.
Hmm. Hmm. There is a bit of an irony in that, right? Because it's like if you're the analytical type, it's your approach is suggesting that you need to, I guess, visit the other side, right, where chaos is guaranteed, so that you can be better at what you already do, right? So
Mm-hmm.
meaning if you're the like super organized type person, you need to know anything and everything divided in step one, step two, step three. This was gonna happen. I know exactly what's gonna happen at all times. But in order to get better at that, you need to visit the you need to be able to let go of. So like, well, I live the town that I'm in right now. It's like I know exactly down to the minute how long it would take to drive from one place to the other. If a friend texts me,
Mm-hmm.
"Hey, can we meet at this one place?" I'm like, "Okay, I know exactly when to leave from. I don't even need to do the GPS anymore. I've taken these routes so many times, and that time frame changes depending on the time of the day. So I know that okay, if we're gonna be doing something around 5, okay, the traffic on this road is typically adds about 2 to 3 minutes or 5 minutes. I mean, it's down to that level. But sometimes when I'm just driving and I get caught between like whether there's like a road rage or a train that's blocking the road or something like that, I'm just let it be. It is what it is. But there's like a voice in me in the back of my mind that's like, oh my goodness, we were 2 minutes late, so that means we're gonna have to not park here. We're gonna have to go park over there because it takes a little bit less time to park. So there's all of that happening in the mind. But having had the it's small but mighty improv background, it's like, hey, when things happen, it's not the end of the world. We can pivot. There's other options when things happen. Um, Okay, remind me again. Where did you say that you grew up?
So I'm from Indiana originally, in Indiana.
Yeah,
So Indianapolis, so middle of the state, where I grew up next to a cornfield. And so that's
yeah,
about
yeah.
32 driving hours from where I live now. I'm based out now in LA.
And how long you been in LA?
I've been in LA for over 5 years now, going on 5.5 years. It's time flies.
Okay, so you moved there 2018, 2019.
2019, middle of 2019.
Okay, so you got there shortly after I got there. Okay, okay, and you went straight to Hollywood, or where did you stay at first?
I believe the technical district where I was staying off of Melrose, but I believe it was in
Okay,
Koreatown is where I was at
okay,
originally,
okay.
and I hung around there for a little while.
Yep, yep, K Town. I stayed in K Town for a minute, and then I was in Huntington Park for another minute, about a year and a half or some change. Um, so did did you move there so that you can find more opportunities to get into the theater world, or what took you there?
My acting teacher, Eric, shout out to you, gave a shout out to your old acting teacher. I'll give a shout out to mine if he's watching. Eric Altidy
Yeah.
was the reason I moved to Los Angeles. I was staying in after I graduated college. I graduated in 2019 in around May, and I
Okay.
believe if I'm remembering correctly, and
Hmm.
I had a job lined up working backstage in doing basically production assistant work in the music
Yep.
industry in Denver, Colorado. And
Okay.
so I
Okay.
went out there, and that's where I was for a couple months. And then Eric told me, "Hey, you need to make a move. Here's what I think would be good for you. You need to make a move to either New York or LA by October, by Halloween, basically." So I was like, "Well, I don't want to go
Mm-hmm.
to New York. New York's cold. The people have been
Yeah.
mean whenever I've been there." So I was like, "I'll check out
Mm-hmm.
LA." And so that's basically what it boiled down to. That's why I moved out to LA because my acting teacher mentioned it might be a good idea. And I was like, I got nothing else going on. We'll
Mm-hmm.
give LA a shot. And I've been here for over 5 years now.
Okay, and then how did you discover that you had, would you say, a talent, a calling for teaching others, for coaching others? How did that come about?
That's a great question. I knew I had a talent or a calling for comedy. I loved it. I loved it ever since I was a kid. Stand up. It's funny. I've been doing stand up for 2 years. I have a background in entertainment, I guess you could say, or doing, as I like to say, being on stage for close to 20. And so the question might follow, why did it take so long to do stand up? Because I was afraid of it. I was afraid of it stand
Yeah.
up because I knew that was the thing I really wanted to do. I knew that was
Hmm.
the thing. And so I knew that early and I kind of ran from it for a very long time. But I'm happy to be doing it now. So I knew my point is to answer your question about having a calling or liking teaching.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
knew that I wanted to do stand up from the time I was, I think, quite young. I didn't know that
Hmm.
about coaching. Coaching is
Right.
something I don't want to say I fell into it because I just had this idea. What if you could teach improv to business people? What if you could teach
Hmm.
improv to people who are not theater people? What might that be able
Yeah.
to accomplish? What might that help? I had that idea and then I just gave it a shot. I did a couple free sessions for some people who were close to me or that I was connected with. And I found that, oh, this is really, really useful. And not only that, but I found that I really did have a passion for teaching and coaching. And I mean, like I said, I've taught well over like 400 people at this point. It's been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed it. And I enjoy not only helping people reach their goals, but I like it when we have a particular thing that we're focused on over the long term. Kind of like I want to be a better, I work with a sales guy. I want to be better. I want to sound more empathetic, or I want to be more human on the phone. That's something that I've
Hmm.
worked with
Hmm.
multiple guys on. And it's really
Yeah.
cool to be able to finally listen to two different phone call recordings and hear
Hmm. Hmm.
one pre working with me and one post working with me and just see. It's almost like I'm as an artist, it's almost like I'm watching music get more refined and better. It's just I like seeing that. I like seeing that within people, and so yeah,
Okay.
I just found. I think I didn't expect it. I always thought I just would want to be up on stage in front of people that because that's what I do feel called
Yeah.
to do. But in regards to coaching and teaching, I found it. I found it as I was kind of doing it.
Okay. That's really awesome because like many of us are, well, one, afraid of speaking in public. So you
Hmm.
have that nailed down with doing improv and comedy in front of people. I mean, it's
Hmm.
like that's a very tough thing to do, to get strangers to laugh at you or with you. Um, yeah, and they don't know you, you don't know them, they don't know what you're gonna be talking about, and then you have to make them laugh. That takes some serious skills. It's not just being good at speaking in front of people, public speaking. It's like it's beyond that, and then marrying that with the ability to teach. That's you're slowly becoming deadly. Here's what I mean, because to teach is like you have to understand the person that deeply in regards to the problem that they're trying to solve. But not only that, you have to be able to teach them in a way that they would find value in it. Because you have to tailor to that particular person a particular teaching style. So, you have a lot on your hands. So how did you grow as an individual as you were trying to figure out like what this whole coaching thing looks like?
Can you repeat the last part? I didn't catch that.
Yeah, like how did learning to be a teacher change you? Essentially, that's the question.
It taught me that I need to be a better listener. It's one of the things
Okay,
that it
okay.
taught me.
And what does that
Yeah,
look like in practice?
in practice, it looks like
Like for example, like for me,
recognizing. Yeah.
go ahead, go ahead.
No, no, go ahead.
Now I was saying like for me, it looks like um, when someone is talking to me and I'm trying to genuinely listen, I have to listen so intently that by the time they finish speaking, I have to repeat what they said, rephrasing it, of course, but rephrasing it in a way that they feel understood. So they say
Hmm.
something, I listen, I repeat it to them in a different way until they agree that what I repeating to them is what they meant to say. Right. So that's how it changed me, because I'm typically listening so that I can respond. But becoming a teacher, a coach in this case, I'm having to listen intently, because then I'm gonna have to repeat what I'm going to say in a way
Mhm.
that they agree that what I said represents what they truly meant to say. Okay, so that's what that looks like on my end. That's what I meant.
Yeah, you're encoding what they said into your own reality to a certain
Right, right.
extent.
Yeah,
You've taken what they've said, you have your version of it, and you try to make sure that that version aligns very much with theirs. Yeah, I get it.
right.
For me, what being a good listener meant was a true recognition of what other people's goals were. I
Mm,
think that
mm,
a lot of people, when it comes to interpersonal communication, one on one, I think a lot of people just assume that everybody wants the same things that they want, or same worldview, if you like. But really, what it comes
right.
down to is everybody just assumes that my goal is, yeah, clearly, if I'm at the office and I'm a sales guy, well, clearly my goal is to sell here. So why does
Mm,
everybody have a problem with me? Might be a problem that a sales guy comes up with at
yeah,
work,
yeah.
when not recognizing that, well, maybe some of the other people that you're working with, their goals aren't necessarily to sell. Maybe their goal is, maybe it's your boss, and your boss is more interested in having a successful team that works together and is cohesive, as opposed to everybody having their numbers up. And
Right.
the sales guy who's hell bent on being successful won't be able to understand that, to be like, what do you mean? Like, I thought the point was we're supposed to have our numbers up and make a ton of money. He just assumes that that should be, well, not only is that everybody's goal, if it's not, why is it not? It should be, clearly, when
Mm,
maybe it's
mm,
not. Maybe it shouldn't be. Maybe a manager's role is to make sure that a team works well together, because everyone will have success and there will be a lower attrition or turnover rate over the long term.
yeah,
So
yeah.
when I say I needed to become a better listener, I think I found myself doing that, where I just, it wasn't that I was, yeah, I guess assuming, I just thinking that, oh, well, clearly this person, as a coach, well, clearly this person is here to work with me, so they want to learn what I have to teach. And then I would teach, I'd go through the exercises, they'd get better at it, but then they wouldn't do their homework that I would assign. Or they
Mm,
would work with me for a couple sessions and then they wouldn't anymore. And I'm like, what? Why are I'm missing something here? And what I
right,
realized
right.
was, it was not so much for me coaching. I can't speak to other coaches' approach, but one of the first questions I always ask is, what are your goals? What are your goals? I
Right.
ask that to my students, because I literally want to have them write it down, ideally, via a message, not
Yeah, yeah.
necessarily in person, but definitely written. I want them to think about, where do they want to head, and then I decide, as the coach, does my skill set and what I offer help push them from point A to point B, which is really what my
Mm,
whole
mm,
coaching strategy has become, helping people get from point A to point B. I so happen to bring a large amount of skill and experience to communication. So I work really with people who need help with their communication, specifically, whether that's storytelling, whether that's interpersonal relationships, whether that is sales guys, like I mentioned earlier, whether that's
yeah.
engineers who need to get better at spontaneous problem solving, analytical people
Mm,
working
mm,
creatively. But what really being a coach has taught me is, you need to really, really listen and understand other people's goals. And to be an effective coach, you can't really, you have to observe people as they are and kind of go, okay, this is where they are, this is where they like to go. I agree that they should head this way. I think this is a good thing for them. I'll be the judge of that before I decide to work with them. If point B from point A is a good place, then from there, what can I do to push them in that direction? Because then from there, it's not even really up to me at that point. They want to
mm,
go in a
right.
particular place. They think I can help them. I agree. Let's do it.
Mm, mm. Okay, okay. So then what are the biggest obstacles between so like if you're trying to help me achieve, well, go from point A to point B, you can lay out a certain strategy. Here's what we're gonna do. Here's what we're gonna try. Here's how we're going to measure success by this particular time frame. If it doesn't work, here's how we're gonna pivot. Um, but there's often a huge distance between our conceptual understanding of something and the implementation of that thing. So as you're teaching and coaching people, what do you see being like the uh not the common ground, but the most recurring obstacle that keeps people from taking the conceptual understanding and then putting that thing into practice?
Not doing their homework is one.
Okay.
So
Okay.
you got to be willing to put in the work. And I've been very blessed and fortunate to have very hardworking students. I find that a big glaring red siren of, oh, we're not going to get where we need to go is definitely not doing the work in between sessions when I work with people. That's a big
Mm-hmm.
one. In terms of what is a general problem that a lot of people face that prevents them from getting there? Like, what's a general problem that comes up? For me, man, I work with a lot of men who are interested in self-improvement. So that
Mm-hmm.
generally fields for a lot of problems because if you're already interested, if you've already checked out the self-improvement community, you're already willing to do something that might make you slightly uncomfortable in order to be better. That's
Yeah.
anything
Yeah.
from David Goggins. That's anything
Mm-hmm.
from, running a marathon. That's any, like, I got to get back in the gym. I have to do
Yeah.
Toastmasters. So, and yes, I already understand that it's embarrassing doing public speaking, but I'm going to do it anyway because I know eventually it won't be embarrassing. It'll be phenomenal. I'll be great at it. These people are willing to go through the ringer in my experience.
Mm-hmm.
The people that I will say I've definitely butted heads with in regards to teaching, where it's been a little bit more difficult, is when their ego prevents them from trying something new that might help them be more successful. Ego is a
Okay.
big one. Because man, I've worked with some pretty high achieving women are amazing. This point is particularly for some of the men that I've worked with. I've worked with some very high achieving males, and as a result of that, sometimes to be truly successful, you have to develop an ego because you want to be competitive, right? You want to
Mm-hmm.
have that extra edge. You want to achieve,
Yeah. Yeah.
and the theater work to a certain extent that I do, I predominantly do exercises and games as opposed to making people, act or do characters or voices
Mm-hmm.
and stuff. So it's a little different the approach I take. Having said
Yeah.
that, I still am coming from the world of stage theater and comedy and improv. And so that can come off as a little bit, I'm sure, effeminate to these types of men.
Mm-hmm.
And, or,
Yeah.
why do I have to learn from you? Whatever, I achieved this. I made
Mm-hmm.
$1 million. I did that. That definitely can come in, and that attitude is not going to help those guys get to that point B. It's not going to help them get from point A to point B to the place that's going to make them successful. You have to abandon the ego and give it a shot at a certain point. Who knows, you might like what you see on the other side. You definitely will.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I love that. You just touched on the word of success there. Um, huh. How do you? Okay, I guess two questions. One, how do you define success? But before you answer that, um, when was the last time you were back in Indiana?
The last time I was back in Indiana, not too long ago, I was there for a wedding, probably a couple weeks ago.
Oh, okay, okay. Do you go out relatively often?
Holidays, the big ones, generally, like I'll
Yep,
be there
yep,
for Christmas just to spend time with family, stuff like
yep.
that. But past that, or past an old friend's wedding, that sort of thing, or the occasional stand-up show. I'm going to be performing
Okay.
in Indianapolis in this coming February,
Oh, that's cool.
2025. Thanks. Yeah. Besides that, no, I don't usually head back. I don't usually head back very very
Yeah.
often.
Has anybody from your neck of the woods moved to LA that you know of?
Yeah, one person in particular that I see all the time, my friend D'Angelo
Okay.
Himes. I've known him now for about 10 years. We went to college together. So
Oh,
I
cool,
moved
cool.
to LA in 2019, middle of the year. He got here, I think the day before 2021. We drove, I helped him. We went together and we drove to LA. I went back to Indiana and we
Mm-hmm.
drove together. So yeah, we've both been in LA now for multiple years, and yeah, he's a very very close friend of mine, and he's now blowing up on social media. So I'm really really happy for him on that. He's a great comedian.
That that's awesome. That is really awesome. Okay, so the second question was yeah, how do you define success?
I think you have to think for yourself is the biggest first part of that equation. The question is not what is success, it's how do you define success. And I think everybody should ask themselves that question first,
Right.
because
So
it's very easy to take a, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. Were you going to ask
no,
something?
you're good. You're good. No, no, no.
Gotcha.
I was gonna say, how do you define success? Like you,
Yeah,
Parker. How are you defining success?
you got to think for yourself. In meaning everyone's got to come up with their own definition. You can't look to too many. I mean, I don't know. It's good to keep yourself in check. It's good to have
Right.
mentors. It's good to have people that will give you necessary advice sometimes that is hard to hear. And as a result of that, it's good to have people around you that might push you in the right direction. But at the end of the day, I think everybody's got to set their own standard. And I think so long as you are consistently improving and you don't rest on your laurels and you keep moving forward, I think that the everyday process of that is success. And to a certain extent, are you, and maybe I'm biased saying this because I truly am living my childhood dreams here, but are you
Mm-hmm.
actually in pursuit of a dream? That to me, so many of us have lost that sense of wonder, sense of dreaming, of thinking bigger than our life currently consists of. You know, it's easy to get pulled into the trances and the traps of every day what you're doing. Maybe you're a parent, and so you kind of abandon your dreams and you just want to help your children achieve. I don't think that's bad by any means. I think it's very admirable, but wouldn't it be even better if your children saw you getting after it as well? Saw you pursuing the things that you always wanted to pursue. I think we underestimate dreaming. I think everybody, particularly today, is very bogged down in what's might be going on in the world, whether that's in their own country or someone else's. And I think we really have lost touch with that sense of, well, what could be? What could we do that could be better, that would leave us off better tomorrow? What would be inspiring? What would be really cool to achieve? What would be great? So I think consistent improvement every day is definitely part of the formula of success. I really believe that. But I also believe if we're going to be consistently improving in a direction, why not that direction be a dream? Why not that direction be a vision of a future that is brighter, more colorful, more interesting, more exciting, and more exhilarating than what has been?
Hmm. Okay, I like that. I like that. You still did not give me your definition of success, but
That's
I
mine.
think
that is my
okay,
definition of
okay,
that is my
okay.
definition of success, I suppose.
Yeah, yeah.
For me, the reason I say you have to think for yourself is I don't live a normal life. You don't
Okay.
either, by the way. It's not normal to get up, randomly take a 3 month vacation and then make
Yeah, I
it,
suppose.
your whole
Yeah.
life. And I love that, by the way. I think that's amazing what you've done. I think that's awesome. But it's not the convention. It's not the
Right.
tradition. It's not
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
normal thing that I think most people do. And I admire that about you. And I see a little bit of that in myself in terms of I'm not living in, a very conventional life. And so I think thinking for yourself is mixed in with that because my dream is to be a phenomenal stand-up comedian, to be an iconic stand-up comedian. That's one of the things that I really, really want. And so for
Awesome.
me, my version of success is striving towards that direction. Consistent improvement every day in that direction towards that dream. But for someone else, maybe they want to be a phenomenal, I don't know, maybe they want to be a phenomenal fitness coach. Random. Maybe they want to be a
Mm.
phenomenal salesperson. Cool. They have a dream that really gets them out of bed in the morning, keeps them going, and makes them want to achieve. They need to go in that direction, in my opinion. For me, I have my measure of success for myself. I fall short of that sometimes. I'm not perfect, but I still am trying to keep that dream alive as best I can.
I love that. I love that. To dream big, and then take the smallest possible step that you can towards achieving that dream. Um, oh man, I really like that. So we're it's crazy. We're coming to the top of the hour here. You said earlier that if I was open to doing some improv, you
Sure.
wanna you wanna bring in some of that?
Yeah, 100%. I don't know. We'll run this. when it comes to this exercise, there might be a slight delay, just like half of a second. So if our voices aren't synced up with what we're about to do, it's completely fine. I just want the listener to be aware of that. If it sounds like, why are they out of sync a little bit? It's because we're working digitally. So it might just be slightly out of sync in terms of the rhythm of what we're going to do. Is that good with you?
Yeah, of course. Yep.
Cool. So here's what we'll do. This is an exercise called 5 things. And what I'm doing right now is I'm pulling out my stopwatch so I can kind of keep track of how long we're doing it. So here's how this works. And this is very indicative of how I teach, by the way, because this is not like theater-y, more so as it is exercise. It's kind of like an exercise regimen as if you'd go to the gym. So here's how this works. We're going to run a 3-minute round, but before we do that, we're going to do just a little practice. Here's how this works. There's a chant with this exercise, and the chant goes like this. These are 5 things. These are 5 things. So again,
these are 5 things. These are 5 things.
You already nailed it. You're better. You're better than most. So yeah, exactly. So for the listener at home, that's the rhythm. These are 5 things. These are 5 things. Now, what me and Moses are going to do is we are going to give each other prompts. So Moses might tell me, Parker, these are 5 things you eat for breakfast. These are 5 things you do while you're on vacation. These are 5 things that you have out on your desk, something like that. And then it's going to be my job to number off those 5 things. So we're going to go very slow at first, Moses. So whenever you're ready, just give me a prompt. That chant will come back. So it'd just be, Parker, these are 5 things that you blank, blank, blank.
Okay. These are 5 things that you do before breakfast.
Cool. Now, as I list these 5 things, number me off aloud. So I might say, take a shower.
1.
Before breakfast, I'm going to get my ingredients for breakfast.
2.
I'm going to go stand in the sunshine.
3.
I'm going to take a walk.
4.
I'm going to take my vitamins.
5.
And then together we do that chant. These are 5 things. These are 5 things.
These are 5 things.
Perfect. And then I would give you one. I'd say, Moses, these are 5 things you eat for lunch.
Oh, rice.
1.
Beans.
2.
Yogurt.
3.
Banana.
4.
Oh, are you kidding me? Peanut butter and jelly.
5. These are 5 things. These are 5 things. Make sure you say the chant.
These are 5 things.
Cool. So we'll run that. We won't even do it for a 3-minute round because I don't know. I can't quite see the time. I want to make sure we don't run over time. So we'll just do 1 2-minute round. Is that okay? Yeah. All right.
Bet.
All right. Whenever you're ready, you can give me the first one, and then we'll just go back and forth exactly like that. You're nailing it, by the way. It's great.
Awesome. Okay. These are 5 things that you do before you go for a run.
I put on my running shoes.
1.
I check to make sure that I don't have any messages that I need to answer.
2.
I look out the window to see what the weather looks like.
3.
I put on a jacket because it's a little cold outside.
4.
I make sure I bring my key with me so I lock my door on the way out.
5.
These are 5 things.
These are 5
things.
These are 5 things. Okay.
Moses, these are 5 things you do on vacation.
Buy a plane ticket.
1.
Check the different museums that are available to visit.
2.
Oh man, this is nuts. Okay.
You got it.
Rent a car.
3.
You gotta be kidding me. This is much harder than I thought. Find the different restaurants to go to.
4.
Reserve a hotel.
5. These are 5 things. These are 5
things. Okay, I like this exercise. It forces my brain to just not think, but think at the same time. Not spend too much time thinking, but also think. Man, thanks for that exercise.
We're not done yet. Give me another prompt. We're still going for 2 minutes. Keep going.
Right. Okay, so these are things that you do after Going to a party.
I drive home.
1,
I get ready for bed.
2,
I turn on a movie to fall asleep to.
3,
I eat peanut M&Ms while I watch that movie.
4,
And then I brush my teeth because I don't want to, have peanut M&Ms in my mouth while I'm asleep.
5.
These are 5
5
things. These are
things.
5
These are
things.
5 things.
Last one. These are 5 things that you should never do in Portugal.
Say that Sagres is better than never mind. Okay, there's two different beers.
You got it. Keep going.
Wow. Never do in Portugal. My goodness, this it's hard because I've been to Portugal. Don't. Yo, this is hard. My goodness.
You're good, man. Keep going.
You said before going to Portugal?
No, things that you shouldn't do while in Portugal.
Do not order a Bud Light.
1.
Wow, my goodness, wow. Do not expect that everyone is gonna speak English.
2.
Do not get an Airbnb or a hotel in Lisbon.
3. Good job.
Wow, why is it so freaking difficult? Make sure. Well, no.
You're good.
Yo,
Keep going.
what
Keep
the
going.
heck?
You got 2 more. Keep going. Keep going.
Okay. Do not leave Portugal before going to Porto.
4. 1 more.
And oh, do not leave Portugal before eating feijoada.
There we go. 5. Good job. Good job. That's it. That's it.
Oh man,
Got
it's
all,
tough.
all fingers, all the toes, both arms.
Yeah.
We're good. Life is good. You got it. It's all right. You did a good job.
Why? Why is it difficult?
You're judging yourself partially. You'll hear it when you watch back the recording on this. Well, here's the interesting thing you asked me earlier, and I think this is, since we're coming to the top of the hour, this is a really good loop to close, I guess you could say. Why do analytical people have a hard time with improv, or why is it beneficial more so to learn this type of skill set? It's because, particularly for men who are high achievers, who are getting after it, who are living their lives, a lot of that life is built through judgment. A lot of it is built through, this was not good enough, I need to improve that. This was not good enough. No, I need to get better at this. And that's that voice coming in that you're actually vocalizing. You're going to hear it when you listen back to the recording of, this is, this is so hard. Why is this? Oh, this is much more difficult than I thought. Or this, you'll hear yourself getting down on yourself mid-exercise. The interesting thing about this skill set is when you can learn within doing the space of this exercise how to quiet that voice, you'll see your improvement go up even more. The judgment, in my opinion, should be withheld. It should be at the end of the exercise. Allow that voice to come in. Judge yourself as harshly as you want after the exercise is over. But when you're in it, that voice, it's almost like there's space in your mind where you're trying to come up with the next thing on that list. And in that space, when it feels like you can't come up with it, that voice of judgment creeps in and says, that's not good. You're doing terrible. Oh my God, this is being recorded right now, whatever. I've done the same exact thing, by the way. So it's all good. But my point is, that is where that voice comes in. And so when you learn how to quiet that voice of judgment and have control over it, that's what's going to make the improvement even better than it already is. You'll get out of your own way. And so that's one of the reasons I believe it's difficult, is because that voice of judgment can come in and make itself known.
Awesome, man. I love that exercise. I'm definitely gonna rewatch this, and I'm not gonna edit anything out. So I usually don't edit stuff out. So, man, Parker, really, really awesome to have you on the Moses Kabandana Podcast. If people want to learn more about you, where do they find you?
You can find me in a couple places. I'm all over social media, pretty much on every platform as at the Parker Dean. So at the Parker Dean. You can check out my website at consultotc.com, or you can check out our program, the Mouthpiece Mastery program, at mouthpiecemastery.com. We are the premier academy for men who are interested in being better at speaking off the cuff. So you can check us out there. So yeah, at the Parker Dean on every platform, or my website, consultotc.com, or if you want to check out our group coach offering, which is one of the cheapest ones that we do, and you just want to see what it's all about, there's a free video waiting for you on the other side at mouthpiecemastery.com.
Awesome, man. Happy Monday to you.
Thank you so much, Moses. Thanks for having me on.